It has been quite some time since I have posted a devlog about the farm game project that I am preparing for the upcoming Unity video course, so let me give you an overview of the project that I have prepared and on the progress so far. Here we are in the player's house. Now you have all the UI, so the time of the day, the money, hotbar, the tools selected, and the fatigue and stamina. Those are mostly taken from the Story of Seasons game. We have the bed where I can save the progress of the game. There is the screen transition and all have been saved. I plan to add some summary of the day's progress of what you have sold and what money you have earned on selling the items from your sell chest. The next thing that we can interact with, which does not indicate that we can interact with it, but I need to polish the project a bit, is the tools chest. So here, if I interact with it, we can see that there is the player tools. Again, this is mostly like in the Story of Seasons, where you can have a limited number of tools with you, and the tools chest, which shows at the bottom the description of the tools, the image, as well as I will soon add some more informations like the price or whatever else is needed. So I can press spacebar to move those items between those two storage areas, and if I press escape and interact with it again, it was all saved, so we can pick up all those items. And of course, if we have too many items in the tool chest, we are not going to be able to pick them all up. Okay, and now we can exit the house and we have been transitioned into another scene. Now, to be able to transition between those scenes, I have the house, which has a movement collider, which takes this kind of space, while the door is partially free of the movement collider, which stops the player from moving through the house. But we have a scene transition, which is this green collider. I have added a gizmo to show it, which allows us to collide with it. It is actually a trigger, and if the player collides with this trigger, it will be transported to the next scene. Now, in the inspector, you can see that there is a scene transition on trigger script, which has the name of the reference name of the scene to which we need to transition, as well as the scene transition ID. And inside this house, if I save this, we are going to see that this has, again, the scene transition with the same ID, so that we know where should we transition the player and when we should spawn the player. There is a child object spawn point, which is here a bit above the trigger, so that we can spawn our player here inside the house. And if we have multiple transition points, we can have multiple spawn points, and thanks to those IDs in the inspector, we know to which transition ID should we use and where should we spawn our player using this spawn point assigned to each transition ID. Besides the transitions between the scenes, I have implemented the sell chest, so we can collect some items from our field. Now, preferably it would be crops, but I'm going to just put there some weeds or the wood log, and as you can see, they are stored here in the sell chest. And at some point, I think it is 1 p.m., we're going to be selling those items and we are going to receive some money. Now, this happens thanks to a class called Time Manager, which has an event handler called on-clock progress and on-day progress. Depending on those events, we're going to pass the time as a timestamp and a game calendar to anybody that is listening to those events. This is a delegate void time event handler that takes time event arguments. And if I go to the definition, it takes the season, the current workday, the weekday, the current season, and the current time. And based on those, the events will be fired, and anything that is listening to those events, like our cell chest or our cell system, in fact, will proceed doing what it does based on those events. So on the day progress or on a specific hour when the on-clock progress is triggered, we're going to be selling our items. Now, if I interact with the chest, the time will stop. There will be no progression of the time, so I can exit it. And I think about 12 o'clock, we are going to see that we received two coins, and the items from the sell chest are gone. So we can set the time at which our sell chest will automatically sell items. Currently, we have no NPC coming and getting those, but basically this is something that we can also create. Now, besides that, you can see that in the hotbar we have our stone. If I press I key, I'm going to open the inventory, which basically reuses the same UI that I have used for the tool chest and for the sell chest, and I can here select this item and move it to somewhere else. And if I close the inventory by pressing escape, you're going to see that in the hotbar we have this item moved. So the spaces in the hotbar are representing the first row in our inventory bag. Now I can select this item and I can place it back on the field and I can pick it up. So this is something new that I've also worked on. Using Q, I can swap the tools that I have. I'm going to prepare some fields because the other tool that I've created is the watering can. So I'm going to place the crops here on our fields, and we have our watering can, which we can fill in using any body of water. Now currently this is only this well, and we can go to this crop and I can press action key to water those crops, and obviously this will affect how fast they will grow and if they will wither or not. Now there is no indication how much water our watering can has, so at some point I will not be able to use it again. I will need to go and refill it, and again I will be able to water the crops. There is some small animation showing up with the water splashing onto the field. Now again, this is something that will be saved, so if I use all the water and go back to the hut and save the game, so go here, okay, and if I go to the main menu and load the state of the game, you're going to see that we have our watering can selected. We have this one rock in our inventory, but if we try use it, the watering can on the field, we are going to see that we still cannot use it. We need to fill the watering can, so everything is being saved, which I am pretty proud of the system. The saving system basically works on an interface that gives us a save ID, the get data method that returns a string, and the restore data that takes in the string. And for example, if I go to the sell system, so what is selling our items from the sell chest, it simply implements this interface, gives it an ID. I have this save ID repository static class that has static inst right now to get those IDs, so they are different for each different class that needs to save something. And basically in our class we have the get data method that converts the data from the cell system into cell system save data and passes it using the JSON utility, and the restore data that processes the string value that is received and convert it back to the cell system data and restores it to our cell system. So as long as the script implements this iSaveable and has a unique ID, I can save basically everything in the game. Now another thing that I want to show you is the input system usage. So right now we have paused the game, but we can still use the arrow keys to move around the UI and select objects and click spacebar basically so the action key to move those objects. And if I go back, I can use the same keys to move around and interact with objects using the spacebar, so the action key. To create this, I'm using those action maps from the new input system, and basically what I do is disable the player in-game action map and enable UI action map, which uses the same keyboard movement keys and interaction keys, the spacebar, so I can swap those action maps, which is pretty cool, although I'm still learning about the new input system, how to utilize it best in a game. It works pretty nice that I can just disable the player in-game map and I will no longer be able to move, while I can reassign the same keys very easily to the UI. So obviously we need to water our crops to make them grow, so I need to go back to the hut and interact with the bed, and at some point those crops will start growing, so I need to go back, and the farming mechanic is working nicely. The crops start growing, but I need to water them daily. Right now the rain does not water the crops, but those are some systems that I need to finish. Besides the growing crops and earning money, which are the basic mechanics here, I have implemented a town. So if we go up, we have the same kind of transition that transitions us to a town, which currently has only one building interactive, which is this building with the red roof. If I go in here, we're going to see that here is the general store, and you can interact with this guy. We're going to see that here is the dialogue system that I have just created. We have the portrait. This is generated using the Midjourney AI generator for the art. So I'm pretty proud of what it has generated. And we have the name. Again, this is in the style, or basically the same way it is in the Story of Seasons games. And we have the conversation here. If I press action key again, we can go to the next conversation piece. And at the end, we are going to be transferred to the general store UI. Again, this is work in progress, but this is using the same UI scripts that I have used for the inventory and for the toolbox and for the sell box, and we are going to be able to purchase those items based on how much they cost and how much money do we have. And basically this is it for what I have planned for the course content. Now obviously I need to polish this a bit, I need to refactor the code, finish some systems like the weather system and the dialogue system and the shop system, and for the most part I will be releasing the project with some overview video in the early access for those who just want to check out the project before the course is ready, since making the course will also take some time. I hope that I will have it ready by the end of January, but basically this is the plan for the farm game course. So make sure that you stay tuned to the Discord, to other social media, where I will be releasing some news about the early access, when it is available, and what is the state of the course. Thanks a lot for watching, see you in the next video.